All right, well, welcome everybody. It's my pleasure to be on stage today with Bill Santana, who's the CEO of Knightscope. My name is Mike Oitzman. And Bill, let's jump right into it. There's already been some discussion this morning about some interesting technologies in artificial intelligence and autonomous vehicles, but I think Knightscope brings a really interesting mix of technology that covers all of that in many ways. And the security market is an interesting one as well. So why don't you start by giving us an introduction to the security market and the type of applications that your products are being deployed into.
Sure. Good morning, everybody. Glad to be here. First, I want to thank the F50 team. Been very supportive of us over the last several years, and we're quite appreciative of that. So if you look at the global security market, if you add up all 200 countries, collectively our societies spend over $500 billion a year on security, both in the public and private sector. Probably $300 billion addressable by what we intend to do at Knightscope. The market's quite large, it's extremely fragmented, very little innovation in actual physical security over the last 100 years. A lot of work on the military side, but very little on securing the homeland. Great,
so what do you think are some of the biggest problems that to solve in the security automation space today?
So when we first started the company 4+ years ago, up and down this road here, Bill, you're out of your mind. This will never work. It's too complicated. It's hardware plus software. And lastly, physical security is not an investment thesis, right? There is not a fund that is fluent in law enforcement and security, both on the public and private side. There's not a lot of capital investment. If you look at the military side, our country has a $600 billion budget and gives the troops every level of capability you might ever imagine. There's actually someone in charge called the Secretary of Defense. But the Department of Justice and the Department of Homeland Security have no federal jurisdiction over the 19,000 law enforcement agencies and 8,000 private security firms. There is actually literally no one in charge, which gives an entrepreneur a great opportunity to innovate and disrupt.
Great. So you, as was just said, you've got some interesting product announcements this week. It's really been a big week for Knightscope, and I know it's a crazy time for you. You're getting ready to head off to Dallas next week for another big show, one of the biggest security technology shows in the U.S. And so why don't you tell us a little bit about the new products that you just revealed this week and how that fits into your product line, and again, how it addresses some of the applications in the extension of your product line.
So let's put this into context. Knightscope's vision and intention is to make the United States of America the safest country in the world, changing everything for everyone. The impact on housing prices, insurance rates, the viability of someone's local business, the safety of your family, everything will change. And in order to do that, you need a large portfolio of different technologies to be able to cover that very large, ambitious goal. So if you've probably seen the K3 and the K5 are the two middle machines there on the screen. The K3 is used for indoors, the K5 for outdoors. We just signed our 36th client this morning. We have now contracts, nearly 50 machines under contract in 10 states across 3 time zones. So it's taken a little bit of effort to actually get to this point, but we're very excited about that. In order to add to that success, we announced this week the K1, which is on your on the left there. That's a stationary machine that actually has concealed weapon detection capability. We have a lot of clients that are soft targets and would like to know that someone's carrying a rifle or firearm or a bomb in an area that obviously they shouldn't be. So we'll start shipping that in 2018. And then the K7 is a 4-wheel form factor. So the K3 and 5 are good for ADA compliant areas wherever a wheelchair can go. The K7 is intended for gravel, dirt, sand, etc., where you might have more difficult terrain. And we'll start shipping that in 2018 as well.
So what intellectual property have you developed in regards to that? Especially this concealed weapon technology sounds very interesting and much needed, and I can see a lot of applications for that, not only in commercial space, but maybe even the military space and what have you, guarding our troops at some point.
Right. So to be clear, Knightscope, we design, we engineer, we build, we deploy, and we support. 85% US content. Every single machine says designed and built in Silicon Valley on it. So we're very proud of that. 2/3 to 3/4 of the stuff in there is ours. Obviously, we don't build cameras or lasers or the like, and the sensors we usually end up buying. But the software and hardware is proprietary to us.
Okay. So while we've been sitting here, you guys just dropped a press release this morning, and I think it's an interesting announcement. You have hit your $15 million milestone on I think a $20 million Series M preferred stock release, so congratulations on that. And as the announcement said earlier, I think you're closing that round here on October 10th. So there's still a chance to invest as a private investor, sort of crowdsourcing, if you will, but crowdfunding in a very
So the
interesting...
SEC doesn't allow me to comment, so I'll just nod.
Yeah, but congratulations, and it's a very interesting way of funding the company. And I think that sort of turns to my next question. You guys have an interesting business model, one which I'm beginning to see in a variety of different robot companies, autonomous mobile robot companies, and there are several here in the Valley. We really are a hub of innovation in the autonomous mobile robot space and robotics as a whole. But let's talk a little bit about what you describe as machines as a service or robots as a service. And I think everybody's familiar now with software as a service, how it's disrupted the enterprise software world over the last 10, 15 years and changed the way that software is developed actually and deployed now over the cloud. So talk a little bit about, you had a choice when you came to market of being either a capital equipment company, the classic robot, industrial robot business model of selling capital equipment, or as you guys have decided to go this route of machines as a service. So tell this crowd a little bit about how machines as a service works, both for the customer and then also from your perspective inside the organization.
Sure, a little background. I'm an ex-Ford Motor Company executive. I spent 10 years in Detroit trying to sell hardware, and we could barely cover our cost of capital. So the concept of selling hardware is probably not the greatest idea. Second, we drop new software code every 2 weeks, new hardware every 3 to 6 months. It's not a good idea to sell a client a piece of equipment that you know is going to be outdated here shortly. And then lastly, from a security standpoint, all these assets stay on our books, and we can keep track of everything that's going on in our network. So one odd way to think about Knightscope is we're a very unique data center. We have humans, software, and hardware monitoring everything in the network across the country 24/7 down to the millisecond. The only difference is that our servers are outside and they're moving.
So what are some of the toughest lessons you've learned in trying to perfect this machine as a service business model? Rather it's a different business model than any organization really has offered up to this point.
In order to get this technology out, we needed to get a good price point for something very unique. So these are offered on a machine as a service business model at $7 per hour. So an off-duty law enforcement officer up and down the street here might be $85 an hour. A security guard's $25 an hour. At $7 an hour, you basically have no excuse not to better secure your facilities. One of the biggest lessons learned in getting that to market is, frankly, the human-machine interface. For the last 30 years, Hollywood has programmed everyone in this room as to what a robot is supposed to do. And then you go sit with the client, and the expectations might be a little bit different. And then how machines interact with people, and would society actually allow us to do this? And frankly, it's been doing rather well. We've got a lot of strong acceptance. We've got lipstick on some robots. We've got selfies all over social media. A number of our clients end up having naming contests for their machines. One of them gave actually employee badges to the machines. One of our clients has a Twitter handle for their machines. I mean, it's taken a whole other path that we hadn't expected.
So for the investors in the room, which is a big chunk of the folks, I mean, if they're talking to another business that's exploring this concept of robots as a service or machines as a service, any guidance you can give them in terms of evaluating those businesses for the viability of of the model?
So what you really want to do is find that intersection between something profoundly different in terms of value for a client, meaning get a really low price for a massive amount of value, and then be able to generate a significant return for the company. So just do the math real quick. $7 an hour, we sign 1 to 3 year long contracts running 24/7. Each machine generates $5,000 of revenue per machine per month. As an ex-auto executive, you'd expect me to make sure these last for 200,000 miles or 5 years in service. 60 months times $5,000, $300,000 of revenue per machine over a 5-year period. And I can assure you the machines don't cost us that much to build anywhere near that. So we've got $250,000 worth of gross margin there that the best marketing dollars we could ever spend is on exceptional customer service and making sure that those upgrades as we develop and further along the technology get provided to the customer free of charge. And so when they first sign the contract, by the time it's time for the renewal, the capability has gone up dramatically by an order of magnitude. So you never want to have that customer ever leave.
Will you sell the product to the customer as a capital asset? Will you let them buy it outright?
Absolutely not. I unfortunately spend 90% of my day saying no. We get all kinds of overtures from all around the world and all kinds of people with interesting ideas. One of the tough things I think for entrepreneurs to do is actually say no to the shiny object in the corner. Here's $5, $10, $20 million to go do something else that's off path, and actually have the nerve to not do that and really stay focused. As most of you know, 95% of startups fail. 80% never make it to their 3rd anniversary. So we had our 4th. We had a little cake that day. But you've got to be able to say no. In some cases, say no to our own investors, which is a tough thing to do, but you have to do it.
Great. Maybe the last question on that topic, and I think I see this from the companies that have developed software as a service, where cloud-hosted software. As a product guy, what do you see the advantages of this as a service in terms of your product and roadmap and your direction, getting feedback from how customers are using the product and where they want to deploy it?
As a service, we don't call our customers, they're clients. This is a long-term engagement, and we have a fascinating dialogue at every location we go to. You think it would be the same thing over and over again, and everywhere we go, we learn something new. And being able to come back to that client and say, hey, is this what you asked for? As opposed to a single transaction that you did 9 months ago, it's a completely different relationship.
Great. So we're just about out of time, but this is sort of an explosive topic, but I'll put it on the table anyway. It's just
Right,
as a robot company CEO, there's been a lot of talk about robots taking away jobs and even the concept of a tax. Where do you stand on that topic?
Okay, two different answers. One, we have this episode every 15 years where the media and society decides that there's some new disruptive thing that came and it's going to kill everybody. So I'm sure when electricity just came on board, obviously that's the work of the devil. Somebody's going to get killed using that kind of stuff. Same automobile that came over a dirt road in Detroit in 1903. Obviously somebody's going to get killed with that. And then the internet and the ATM machine, we should never ever have a banker ever again. We go through this over and over again. I just ask you to plot one curve for me. Take 1900 to 2017, plot me the employment levels all the way across. 2 dips, 1929 and 2008. I would suggest to you that a technologist had nothing to do with that. So I think right now, reality, facts are kind of stubborn. When everyone looks at what we're doing, obviously that's going to kill the million security guards that are out there and a million law enforcement professionals that are trying to secure 300 million people. By the way, that math doesn't work. And the fact is, we're working on 160 plus contracts. I think I can name 2 that are, I want to get rid of that guy. Like, we don't have that actually happening. And sometimes the media doesn't like to hear that, but facts are stubborn things.
All right, well, I want to thank you for your time up here. We're at the end of our time, so good luck to Knightscope. Congratulations on the milestones you've achieved this week, and we look forward to watching you guys in the future.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks.